Right, guys, we're going to move into our panel discussion now. It's really more of an informal chat. It's get to know the guys in the panel, learn a bit about their passion and a bit about what they do. My understanding is you have all founded your own businesses. Is that correct? Okay, so we're going to start on this side. Introduce yourself, just let the audience get to know you a little bit, and then we'll go into a bit more of a discussion.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Menyatswe, and I've started a technology company called Minderz. And essentially what Minderz does is, I'm not sure if everybody's familiar with a company called Sweep South. So essentially what Minderz does is, it's a Sweep South, but for pet care. So what we do is, when you go away on holiday, if you have a pet, a cat or a dog, and you go away on holiday, essentially what happens is you are able to go onto our website, www.minderz.co.za, and you're able to book either a house sitter, a dog walker, or a pet sitter from our website. So that's essentially what Minderz does.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would prefer to start off by saying, you know Moz, and end it off right there. My name is Nhlanganiso. I started Moswe in 2012 because I couldn't find something that spoke me. I went into sports scene looking for a piece of merchandise to wear, and I could find the graphic tees, but I didn't find something that people could look at and from an instance understand who I was. And as a result, I decided to start a brand called Moswe. In the beginning, it was basically an opportunity for people to brand themselves and to brand their business. It has grown to an extent where now we do corporate branding as well, and we've been growing ever since.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Zizipho, and I am the creative lead at The Creatives Corner, which is an agency that initially started to list freelancers within the creative industry. So content developers, social media management, designers, photographers. Essentially, the reason why the business came into actually being something that is real was because I was a freelancer. I was a creative writer, and I understood the struggle of going from job to job. I also understood that fundamentally one of the biggest struggles for freelancers and for creative people was that they didn't have business acumen. They didn't know how to go about making deals. They didn't know how to go about facilitating their finances in such a way that it would accommodate the nature of their industry. So primarily, that was one of the reasons why we started the Creatives Corner. But fundamentally, it was to start a culture of creating a creative e-commerce that could stand on its own. Because communications and creative industries exist within other industries, but we don't have a seat at the economic table as an entity, as a collective, as a group. And one of the fundamental things that we are trying to do at the Creatives Corner is to start building a creative e-commerce.
Hi, I'm Thoko Miya. Please excuse me, I'm just recovering from laryngitis, and it was really bad. I lost my voice for like almost a week. All right, so I'm the Global Partnerships Manager at Girlhype. And basically who Girlhype is we're an organization, we're a coding school, we're a digital skills academy centered and focused around creating and empowering an environment where women are able to enter into the ICT sector, where women are able to take part in a sector of the economy which is at the moment showing the most growth and the most economic viability, and we're trying to create the next pipeline of women to move into this economic sector and also play a part in developing South Africa's greater economy.
Folks, I think a big round of applause for these four. So before we go into a Q&A from the floor, I just want to bring up a couple of topics. And one thing we haven't discussed today is really the impact of social media on your SMME. And I want to look at it from 2 points of view, and I want you guys to just maybe give some insight into how it could affect your business. From the one stand is, it's obviously marketing for your business, right? The other side of it is the reputation management. So if you go out there, let's use Moss for example, you go out there, someone buys one of your tops, it's bad quality. The first thing they do in today's world is go onto social media, and they talk about how bad it is. And of course you get the ones who talk about how good it is, although you probably all found they are few and far between. But how important is that to each of your businesses? And maybe just give a practical example of how social media has either had some kind of effect on your business, or if not now, at least in the future.
Okay, well, I am a major social media fanatic, and working in technology, having a background as a developer, web and mobile, I'm always on social media. And as a result, Girlhype is also on social media. And for us, it is one of the core elements of our marketing. We don't do anything without going on social media. And then, of course, that means that as part of our courses, our students also have a social media presence. And one of the key things that we teach them is the value of respecting the internet space and respecting the fact that there are a lot of people who are going to be online, who are going to see what you're posting from around the world in all different environments, from CEOs to your grandmother. I think, so for us, it's really valuable, but we do stress an element of responsible posting on social media. But honestly, it is the core of our marketing strategy. Like, we don't do anything without posting on social media. And that's how we get the majority of our engagement. Today, if you want to talk to young people, if you're not tweeting, if you're not live streaming on Facebook, if you're not going onto Snapchat and snapping your event or whatever you're doing, you get lost in the murk of everything that's happening. You've got to be loud, you've got to create a voice, and you've got to be present. And the best way is for someone to pick up their phone, switch it on, and find out what you're doing from anywhere. And that's pretty much the power of it.
In addition to that, what I figured out in the past 5 years we've been trying to run, I say trying because there's a number of times you fail at doing something, is your brand is not the logo, it's not what you think it is, it's what your customers think it is. And I think that's the common misconception, that people think that as long as I know what my brand is, then everybody else should know. And what I found often is that people don't buy into you, they buy into what you believe in. So if you are able to create a belief system around what you do, people will buy into that. And when people believe in something, they'll stand up for you when you're not there. So we've had situations where somebody complains about a product, and the people who have been there from the beginning are already replying that person before, I'm aware of what's going on. And when I do find out, I try to not answer the person in a public forum because I do not have the facts. So I always try to contact the person outside social media or outside the post and figure out exactly where the problem started and how we can rectify it. And as a business, you will never, ever always have your ducks in a row. So it's always a learning process and having to engage with people in a face-to-face value. And social media, as emphasized, is very important, but the importance of social media should go beyond just what you post. It's about creating relationships with people you meet. I personally, up until now, I deliver the products to each and every employee who orders or customer who orders through me. So they know me, they meet me, they engage with me, and a relationship is built. And I think that's what's more important than just putting your stuff out in media.
I completely agree with you on that one. I mean, social media for Minderz plays a very, very big role in that we use it. It's actually a very key component in our marketing and PR strategy, in that it plays a very big role in lead generation for us. Most of the customers that we have, we actually find from Facebook, because that's where we actually, sort of communicate to our potential customers promos or particular services, and even information and development that are happening within the company. Because we have other means of communicating with customers, such as like newsletters. But when you send newsletters to people, in their emails, they might not read it. But most people who have Facebook go on their page at least 5 times a day. So for us, we use Facebook quite a lot, to support our business. Yeah.
And yeah.
Can I just make one more comment? So for us, what we found in social media is the best way to go about it is to get qualified media people, communications people, to do the social media for you, because there's an art around it. Social media is beyond just the 140 characters of Twitter, right? People are on Hootsuite, they're creating tweet decks, you're online for like hours and hours creating an online presence. And we found that if you get media people or PR people to specifically do that job, you're able to communicate your idea so much better.
For myself personally, and for Creatives Corner, it's been quite an interesting journey in terms of digital platforms. And I say this because we've met most of our clientele through social media. So 75% of the people we've ever worked with are people that follow our work, enjoy our content, and generally just have a great appreciation for how we package and product our service offering. And for me personally, it's really a relative space. It's not about creating this facade of what you want people to see. It's about being authentic, and it's about being original, and it's about accessing an audience that you wish to commission your product to. So, for instance, in entrepreneurship, they'll talk about how an entrepreneur is an individual who finds a product and then commissions it to its own market. That's what social media is. We commission our product on there to sort of use it as an analytics tool to find who our actual audience is. And it's an interesting journey for us. It's been quite positive. I must say, I have not experienced bad social media experiences as of yet. And I think it's because I'm very mindful of what I want to say, who I'm saying it to, and who I want it to reach. So you'll hear in social media briefings and in comm strategies, it's all about engagement, it's all about likes. For us, the start is really just planting the seed, because sometimes you need to create a need. So you're not always going to communicate something and get the responses that you want per se, but starting the conversation allows people to think in that pathway. So a lot of the time, I use it as a space to test ideas. I use it as a space to find out generally what consumer interest is at the time. I use it to engage people from a very relative and humane point of view, because I feel like fundamentally, people just use social media to express themselves. It's the one place where they feel absolute confidence to say whatever it is that they might say. I'm mindful of the fact that I need to be very careful of what I put out because of the brand I am building and I'm shaping. But I try by all means to keep or create a virtual safe space for people to be honest about their ideas, because essentially that's what helps us better our service offering.
Yeah, I think starting a business is quite a scary thing, isn't it? Don't know if any of you have left your jobs to start your businesses. Some of you may have, but maybe just, I know there were some people here who haven't started a business yet, who are probably thinking of it and going to leave this roadshow with some ideas and inspiration. But what are some of the biggest challenges you have faced in starting your business? Be it either sort of getting family to support you. I know with one of the businesses I started, getting my family to back me to to stop what I was doing then to start it was one of my biggest challenges. But yeah, do you want to share anything with us in terms of what your biggest challenge is?
Okay, I guess I'll go first.
Go for it.
I mean, I'll be very honest. So, and I'll say this, yeah. So, as a black person, all right, generally, can I stand to be corrected? Generally, black people have a different relationship to pets, than white people in South Africa. Okay, so when you say to your black mother, "So, mom, I'm going to quit my job, all right, to start this company that takes care of cats and dogs," it doesn't go so well.
You've gone crazy.
She's like, "Yeah, my child has lost it completely now," because for me, it's my entrepreneurial journey started, when I was in university, in that, her dream was for me to become a lawyer, bought into the dream, but I was like, this is not me, okay? Quit in my third year, and then I actually studied entrepreneurship, all right, because that's what I wanted to do, and, went through the corporate, did some interesting things in corporate, but the dream and the goal has always been to create a space for people to sort of just, I suppose, be more than just exist, through businesses, okay? So my biggest challenge has always been trying to, because I'm also quite a technology fanatic, like I love technology, all right? And trying to sort of explain to my family what's going on in my head, all right? Why I would leave a very well-paying, stable job to go into this unknown world, because that is the nature of technology. It's very, it changes all the time. But as I would like to call myself, as a sort of a natural entrepreneur, that's the kind of thing that makes me come alive, all right? So getting the family to understand that has been one of my biggest challenges. But also, I think when you get into a space like technology, for instance, one tends to underestimate just how difficult it is to get in there and actually not only build a business, but actually change, people's thinking around a particular product. Because Minderz, like, there are companies out there who offer a similar service to what Minderz does, all right, but we do it in a completely different way, all right? So to change, people's perception around that has been quite challenging. But also for me, a personal challenge would be not really understanding, because Minderz is one of my first businesses, not really, but sort of, all right? But also, like, just starting a business is really hard.
Let's not put anyone off now, shall we?
No, it's not, but I think when somebody says to you, starting a business is hard, like, you kind of underestimate, you're like, I can do it. But you need to be on a very different sort of space in your head, to pick yourself up each and every single day to say, you know what, yesterday I went into a boardroom full of, venture capitalists, and I'm pitching this idea, and I'm telling them I need an investment of, 15 million rand, and they all said no. And then tomorrow you've got another meeting with another bunch of VCs, and you need to rock up there, in that sort of winning mindset, like, so you need to really be like, you need to make the decision. I think the most important thing that I've realized about where I am now is I'm sticking to a decision that I made 13 months ago. I'm like, regardless of what happens, no matter how many job offers I get with those amazing salaries, I'm like, this is a decision I made, and I'm not going back.
It's an interesting challenge, that one.
I think for me, it's access. I think it was Domain was on stage. It's having to figure out things on your own as you go along. When I started the business, I didn't know about intellectual property. So my first notion was, if I've registered a company with the Companies Act, then I'm covered. Then 3 years down the line, one of my partners ran away and started to start the same thing on his own, having to figure out how to navigate through the company's tribunal, how to figure out who to ask for information. I didn't have a mentor. I still work, and then I have studies. I have a daughter as well, and to try and run everything is quite difficult. So the access to information for me was the problem. But because the company I work for has access to internet, I started getting onto the internet. I'm on YouTube looking, finding out, getting mentored. Each and every day, I'm filling my head with information. I'm building my belief system. I think once you have a belief system and you have focus, it's easy for you to get to where you want to get to. And the problem is you have noise around you. And I want to leave an illustration for me is when Peter was in the boat and Jesus was in the water. Some of you might not believe in God, but Peter said, if it is you, ask me to come. And Jesus said, come. And Peter steps out onto the water and he starts walking. And the wind blows from the side, and Peter looks to the side and he starts sinking. It is only when he looks back into Jesus that he starts walking on water again. And for me, that's what business has been. Every time I've left that boat to walk on the muddy waters of business industry, and something else tilted me to the side, and I lost focus, my business began to sink. The moment I go back to my belief system and I focused on what was important, my business began to pick up. So it is, I think for me, the biggest challenge was finding out exactly what my main focus was and forgetting about the people around me and the noise around me.
Your challenges. I'm a very bubbly, loud person, as I'm sure you've sort of assessed. So I don't quite struggle with a lot of things. I've always just gotten my way. Even with the parents leaving Old Mutual. I used to work for Old Mutual. Leaving a really good salary and going to start this thing. My father was up in arms. He was ready to kill someone. And I was just like, you know what? This is not about you. This is about me trying to experience the highest expression of myself. And if you want to be a part of that journey, you can. But if you can't, understand that this is a decision I'm making with or without you. And it took him a good 3 years to come around, but he now understands it. And because we're very much the same kind of people, he took it upon himself. He took the liberty of going to learn what public relations is, what media is, what multimedia is, and how that can add value to my life and his. And he's become a really amazing support system. So that was not really a challenge, but it was one of those spaces where I had to be assertive to a very traditional man. You try to be assertive with a very traditional man, it comes off as disrespectful. It can easily go south in that situation. The other struggle was I've got an 8-year-old son. I'm a full-time student at the UCT GSB. I got a radio show, so I do have a media career going on. And now I've also got this thing that I want to do. But I've been blessed in the fact that every single thing I want to do wholeheartedly that I feel is purposeful is something that I find time for. I make the time. I make the time to be a mother. I make the time to be at school and be present. I make the time to create really good content for my lifestyle show with Two Oceans Media. I make time to really do justice to what I'm trying to do with the Creatives Corner. I think for me, the biggest challenge was development towards the self. The program I'm on introduced me to an entirely different way of looking at business. And seriously, what they shared is that if you take care of the person, then you've done half the job for the business. And one of the fundamental things we're taught around personal development is knowing who you are. And you think you know who you are until you're in a program that is designed to dismantle what you say you are and really introduce you to yourself. It's been an emotional journey. It's been really trying because it introduced me to the fact that I have trust issues. Enter entrepreneurship, where they're talking about collaboration, and they're talking about inclusivity, and they're talking about all these fabulous things that really do add value to big ideas. Now all of a sudden I'm presented with my challenge, but I'm also presented with an opportunity to learn how to deal with those trust issues such that I don't walk away from environments that could enable where I'm trying to go. So it's been wondrous, and it's been quite interesting. I wouldn't call it a challenge more than just a series of opportunities to change the way that I look at things.
Wow, okay, so we've had some really good answers. For me, I think the biggest challenge was that I came from a technical background. So I used to be a website developer, Android app developer. So I was working with literal code. I spoke binary. I was a jargon head. I basically lived and breathed in code. Like at the end of the day, I'd walk out the office and I'd be like, okay, English. And then going from that into a space where I was empowering people to get into that space. And there's a bit of a moral dilemma, which is that, one, am I really empowering other people if I'm not sitting at the desk literally doing that exact thing that I set out to do, you know? And then the flip side of it is, am I empowering anybody if I'm the only one? And I guess that's one thing that was really difficult in the beginning. And I know a lot of women in tech struggle with the same thing, which is, you know, at the same time that you want to empower somebody, you still want to be that person who is taking part or doing that specific thing. So for me, that was a big challenge. And I think another challenge was that I was very young when I started, and then I later decided to go and study. And I'm an ADHD person, so I wanted to study something completely separate from what I do in life. And I studied media. And yeah, it was such a complete flip. And for me, that was the greatest challenge, finding myself in a new industry and then harnessing how I can manipulate and alter this industry so that I can create change, so that I can make my footprint, create my legacy, and create a footprint behind, you know, essentially me and who I am as I sit in front of you. And I guess those were the challenges that really hit home for me during this journey.
I think one of the main ones that we didn't talk about is funding. Because we assume everybody else knows that funding is always going to be a problem. And one of the difficult things that, as I was saying, that access is the main problem is because they tell you need a business plan for you to get funding. And you need an education for you to create a business plan. And if you do not have an education, you have a problem. So sometimes as an entrepreneur, you are stuck in the poverty deprivation trap. You don't have an education, you don't have food, you can't do this and this and that. And funding becomes a very big problem for your life. And what I found myself doing was taking money from my salary and pushing my business, taking money from my salary and pushing my business, because no one would give me funding. And what's really sad was, last year somebody wrote an article about Moswe. And I spoke to this person, we had a conversation about my struggles towards funding, and when I read the article, it said I'd been sponsored by Red Bull, I'd got funding from ABs. There was a lot of people who claimed to have given me funding, and none of them were ever there when I needed funding. And up until now, I've never gotten funding from anyone else. So I still don't understand. So funding will always be one of those problems.
And I think earlier I said as well, don't know if you guys were here, but I said you don't always need money to make money. And we need to get past that mentality, and we need to use the skills we have, which I think all four of you have done exceptionally well and built what you built.
I actually wanted to say something with regards to the funding. you know, sort of issue. What I've realized as well is that as an entrepreneur, the biggest thing, and I stand to be corrected, the biggest thing, or the best thing rather, that you can do for yourself before you even, you know, start the business. What I did was I got myself a mentor who has built a company that is similar-ish to what I wanted to build. All right, because essentially what Minderz is, it is a marketplace. You know, it has a customer and it has somebody that, you know, that sort of is providing a service. So who is who is this person in South Africa that I can have access to, all right, who can teach me how to do what he has done so well, all right? So that was the first step that I did. I found that person, all right? But what that person comes with is because he has gotten to a certain level of success, all right, there is now a certain sort of caliber of network, all right, network of people who have a certain net worth, all right, now that I have access to, all right, and that is how sort of the funding issue kind of helps. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, like in South Africa, I've you know, I've had conversations with a number of, you know, angel investors, VCs, all right, and it's really about like people buy into, unless it's government funding, people buy into you, the entrepreneur, not your business. Like a lot of people could easily replicate your business, like any day, all right? But it is you, your vision, your drive, you know, that they buy into, all right? And if they don't know you as a result of your networking, they're not gonna give you money. They're not gonna give you their money. So that's just my little experience.
Yeah, no, thanks for that, guys. Thanks for opening up. I think it's vital that everyone here understands the challenges and ideas and visions that you guys have. So it's great. Are there any questions from the floor before we close off the panel? Yeah, we got one here, one there, lots of questions. One there. Okay, we'll start here and we'll come down. Is there anyone further back? No, you're further forward. That's further back. Okay, so no one behind. Okay, one question behind. Okay, cool. So we'll go with you, sir, and then we'll go behind you, and then we'll come forward to the left and to the right.
Good day, everyone. My name is Thobela Kela. I'm from Eastern Cape, Mthatha. Pramos, this one is for you, Brian. You know, we share the same experience in terms of clothing and stuff. I'm into sportwear. I've been in Eastern Cape in the past 2 months, so I'm a big Adidas fan. So I came to a point whereby I like, okay, whatever sportwear I'm wearing, it's not representing me as an African. It's sort of like I'm marketing international brands. There is no like what kind of African brand in sportwear. So I said, okay, I wanted to do me. I want to wear me. To a point where I said, okay, I want to start my own sport brand wear. So in terms of my competitors, which is Adidas, Nike, Puma, Reebok, you name them, what will be your advice towards my project that I want to do?
I think the foundation or your beginning should be your ability to influence people around you. Just as my colleagues say that people buy into you more than into an actual brand. So when people can identify with your belief system, when people can walk the same path that you walk on, they begin, like right now, a lot of people go to sports scene to buy Red Bet because they can buy it on credit. So my competition is trying to offer an environment where people can buy on credit, but I can't afford that because I'm not as big as them. And you can't compete with Adidas and Nike because you are not as big as them. And the first foundation for you is to first start thinking about how can I influence the people around you. If you can get the people around you to buy your brand, then it becomes easier for your brand to do. We started off in Cape Town. In fact, we started selling off in Khayelitsha at the Chisanyama in Khayelitsha. And people who came to buy from within us in Khayelitsha were the same people who then marketed us to their friends, because the word of mouth is much more powerful than advertising. If you can get people to talk about you, your brand will grow.
Justin, this is directed at you and the panel. First of all, let me commend all of you for having the courage of your conviction and the fortitude to start and launch your own business. Secondly, if you could do it all over again, what would you do differently and why?
Oh, I'd save more money. No, seriously, I'd save more money. I think, like for me, you know, because I left my job as an analyst like last year in June, all right? And the plan was, okay, cool, fantastic. I'm gonna, you know, build this app, and then by December, you know, like by November it'll be ready, and I'll be ready, you know, for the December season. The people are going away on holiday, so I'm gonna make a killing. Fantastic. That it didn't quite go well that way, you know. So I only saved up, you know, enough money until then to sustain myself. You know, I didn't anticipate how much longer the whole project, you know, managing the project, managing myself, you know, managing my emotions in the whole thing, you know, how long everything would take, you know. So I think I'd start at the same time, but I think I would have saved a little bit more in terms of finances, and I think I would have been a little easier on myself. Because I think that's the other thing as entrepreneurs is that because you've got this beautiful rosy idea of how things are supposed to be, when they don't quite, you know, plan out that way, you're super hard on yourself and you underestimate the impact that has on the business, you know, because when you start a business, in most cases, you are the business. You know, you do everything for the company, you know. So if I'm stressed out and I can't work, then that means the business is not operating, nothing happens, you know? And as a result, sometimes I remember there was a time where I actually lost a sale, like a pretty good one, like an entire month's booking. Can you believe? Don't tell anyone. But anyway, you know, that happened because I was sick, and mainly because I was stressed out. I was super stressed out. So for me, it would be those two things, like just take a chill pill, just a little one, and save a whole lot more. Like instead of having a 6-month plan, maybe have a 12-month plan. You know, like be a little bit more realistic about the situation. You know, because I think for me, I took a lot from my mentor. All right, he started his company and he sold it within 3 months. You know, so I used him as a reference. And for me, that's not the case.
I think for me, I probably would have gone on YouTube earlier than now. I mean, I figured out somebody said, don't choose your own misery. And what that translates to is that you basically have about 3 people in your team. You've got a confidant, a constituent, and a comrade. A confidant is a person who's in the project for you. So when you cry, that person is crying. When you are hungry, that person is hungry. They will fight with you, they'll stand with you, and they will go all out for you. The constituent is a person who's in it because the cause gets them somewhere else. So they'll fight for you because they get something else out of it. The difference between the confidant and the constituent is the motive. One is motivated because they are in it to help and to be with you. One is in it because it helps them get to where they want. So if somebody else comes with a better offer that gets them to their destination quicker than you, they will leave you. You'll be heartbroken. You'll probably be depressed. The comrade is a person who's with you because of the fight. They might fight with you against an enemy because they hate the enemy more than they hate you. They're the same people who are going to start using what you tell them to fight you after they've won the first victory. So for me, I only realized this now. It was for me revelation in retrospect. I had gone through it, I looked at it, and I realized the 3 people I had as my partners were actually those 2. One of them I thought was a confidant, turned out to be a constituent, because when we got an ANC tender, my friend pocketed the ANC money and it disappeared. And he started replicating the same business elsewhere. But I thought that this person was for me. And then my brother was also part of my partner, was also a constituent. He needed a platform to get his music out. And because he was basing it on Moss, it was easy for him to run that brand off. And for me, I would say if I had to do it differently, one, I would not give people responsibility so early. And secondly, I'd pick my team differently.
If I had to change anything, it would have definitely been to stop and smell the roses. So much perspective in silence and just immersing yourself in the things that you're interested in outside of work. I think I robbed myself of the single most incredible moments because I was too concerned with being the absolute best at whatever it is I was doing. I also wish that I had not taken entrepreneurship as just face value. You know, for 5 years I attended seminars, I would be at Silicon Valley, I'd be there, I would experience, I would learn, but I wasn't really contextualizing my learnings. So I couldn't separate what being self-employed means, what being an entrepreneur means, and what being an entrepreneur is. And because of that, because of lack of understanding in true context of what I wanted to do, I placed a lot of weight on my shoulders, unnecessary weight that I didn't have to carry had I listened more. So one of the most beautiful things happening now is that I've become a person that communicates really well, but a person that listens exceptionally well. So if I had done that a whole lot earlier, I think I'd be so much far as opposed to where I am now. But trial and error, that's how we learn.
I think the one thing that I would definitely have changed is I would have had a better understanding of how business actually works. From HR to accounting. I mean, up until quite recently, my experience of HR was, you know, from being an employee. Whereas now I'm responsible for hiring people. I'm responsible for firing people. I'm responsible for changing employees between our company and other companies, you know, taking a student and employing them as an intern in a different company, a partner company, and that's a part of my daily job. But I still feel like these are skills that I have yet to refine in terms of accounting, in terms of not accounting, in terms of business, and in terms of being able to be accountable for the business actions which I take. If I've hired somebody, I've got to be able to manage them. What is management all about? What do I do with this person? What is their job description? How do I hold them responsible in the business for what they're supposed to provide? And then, as well as that, hold myself accountable for what I'm supposed to provide them with. They deserve a stipend. They deserve a job spec every day. They deserve management. They deserve inquiry. And, you know, for me, had I had a greater understanding of that before I started, I think I would be so much more fluid at doing what I'm doing.
I'd just like to say one last thing about what I would have done differently. I think I would have invested a little bit more effort in changing my perspective about money. All right, as a young black woman in South Africa, raised by a black woman and a black man, you are taught not to, for lack of a better word, not to love money. All right, it's like it's almost shamed upon. Like, you know, in Tswana they'd say, urata chelet, you know, she loves money, and it kind of, as a business person, you always kind of struggle between, not wanting to make too much, or, it's a very strange sort of dynamic. So for me, I think I would have spent a whole lot more time in changing, or rather not being scared, all right, to get into conversations with people about, money. If I want you to invest, 10 million rand into my company because I give you a particular value, that is what I want. And, going out there and being bold in that response, or rather in that, yes, that. Okay, so I think, because that, I now in retrospect, I see that actually held me back a lot. If I had gone out there, like being a little bit more bold in those conversations, I would have gotten a whole lot more done.
It's interesting you said that now, because I was going to answer by saying believing in myself more. And I think you lose sight of that as you are building something. You step back into the real world and you go, wow, there's no way I'm going to get my 15 million rand funding. And you go in and you ask for 1 million rand. And then you get it. And then a year later, someone says, what would you have done differently? And you say, I would have asked for 15 million rand. Guys, we're going to take, I think, 2 more questions. Otherwise, we will be here till about 6 p.m. Yeah? Have you got a microphone there? And we'll take one on that side. Yeah? Cool.
I've always learned to stand up when I talk, so it's just one of my protocols. I just want to say, this is a comment, and I'm going to ask a question afterwards. One of the things that I believe, this is an excellent opportunity for SMMEs to what you have producing here, but one of the things that I think that also needs to happen is to bring in organizations that actually talks about how to start a company from the beginning, from A. I used to be working in the presidency, and I've met a lot of people, and they always ask me, how did you get to the point where you are at? And then I had to tell them I come from a community that's here, and this is how I started. And so it's important that the organization that's running this to maybe get speakers that basically talk to about swerve rates and all that kind of thing, so that we can actually have those kind of information. With the social media also, when you ask the question, how many people are on Twitter, I think there was about 5 people that raised their hands. And you guys are more on you talked about the social network. I think we have to realize that South Africa, it's only got, I think, 15% of South Africa is actually on the internet. And so your business can also grow far more when you maybe have the opportunity, like my brother there, to say, listen, I go into, and I do it myself and stuff like that. So that's one thing that we also have to think about when we pitch our businesses and stuff like that. Just a question that I want to ask. As future business leaders in your community, I mean, when you started your business, did you ever thought of maybe grabbing someone from your community and actually now starting developing that person to become a business person? And sometimes we think that because you're speaking to a 43-year-old man, I'm nearly finished with my life. But what is it that you guys are doing to actually getting the community out there to actually benefit from just a little bit that you know? And yeah, so that's just basically my.
Do you guys want?
Okay.
You want to answer? Go for
I'll
it.
start. So Girlhype is actually a community-led organization. All our programs, academic programs, internship programs, are completely free to all the girl students. Every student who comes in is considered a member of Girlhype, and obviously signs membership forms completely free. So our job is to create that next generation of women who are going to study computer science, who are going to study into engineering, who are going to study mathematics and space studies, studies that maybe they didn't know they were able to do. and prepare them so that when the time comes that they're able to do that, they're able to get into those careers and into those study subjects so much more easily. And so for us, we provide a completely free experience. Our facilitators come from the community. We try to lead adult-led initiatives. One of the programs we're running currently is an NQF Level 7 software development accreditation in partnership with UWC. So not only are they providing the certificates at the end of our course, they're also leading the way in terms of software development curriculum. And that's a completely free initiative as well. So we really, we focus a lot on community involvement. We want inclusion, you know, we want people to take part. I don't mind if Spokazi, who I've never met in my life, messages me and says, "Hi, Ma'am Thoko," not knowing that I'm so young, and says, "I want to learn IT. I got your number from my friend. How can I get involved?" You know, so that's the kind of outreach that we're talking about.
It's actually quite interesting that you would ask that question, because currently we're designing a workshop around design thinking, which is a phenomenon that's great for anyone who wants to start a business or anyone who owns a business right now. It's a great model to better your business and how you go about prototyping and testing your ideas. So we're currently building that, but not specifically for entrepreneurs, but for the average 16 to 19-year-old. It's a model that I find has been incredibly helpful for me, and I've seen what it can do when it's applied effectively. So we're currently building that, and we're going to be doing it in partnership with Mankosa, which is an executive business school college that I've recently made connections with. And also, I'm in the midst of building a workshop around personal development, because I find that especially in underdeveloped communities that we are a very emotionally underdeveloped society, and we are a very personally underdeveloped society. And one of the reasons why startups fail, one of the reasons why these kids don't make it through varsity, one of the reasons why we don't make it through a lot of things is because we don't have the necessary toolkits to make it. So I'm currently collaborating with coaches, with industry individuals who have extensive experience in that field to build and create something that can have incredible impact, particularly to the girl child in underdeveloped societies. Yes.
I think for me the problem is my definition of success has always been different from the people around me. So a lot of people would look at me and say, "Oh, Moswe is quite successful," and I've always looked at it and thought, "But I'm not where I'm supposed to be." So I'd never really been in an opportunity where I thought I had the power to develop somebody else. Our initiative has always been to give back to the community what we can. And what's interesting for me is today, this event is actually the first time I've actually come on stage and spoken about my story, because one, I don't like speaking in general, and secondly, I didn't think I had enough information to warrant, or I didn't think I had enough leverage within me as a business owner to be able to speak to other people. And what I find interesting is one of the guys I used to sell stuff to started his own business. He's sitting right here. I used to sell clothes to Sia here. And Sia has actually opened a Makaza lifestyle conversation where he meets with the community, invites kids from the community, and invites speakers from all types of life to come and educate people, to educate the kids, to assist the kids, to build the kids. And I don't know if Sia and I had not met, would Sia have created his own investment. But because other people see what you're doing and they start things in their community, and it becomes a ripple effect that somebody else says, "Oh, he made a t-shirt brand, I can go and start on my business." So somebody else has started something else because of something else, and we become, sharpeners of each other.
I mean, for me, Minderz is still a fairly, early startup, and what I've decided to do as an individual is I want to be the young woman or the woman that I needed when I was 12, 15 years old. All right. And what I've done is I'm like, you know what? So I'm not from the Western Cape. I'm from the Northwest. Okay. And what I see in the Western Cape is the reason why, a lot of, well, I'll be very specific, a lot of, tech companies succeed, or they at least, get to building the companies, because the ecosystem is enabling. There are organizations that are strategically placed within the Western Cape to support startups. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I have access to these people, all right, and I see what they are doing right to assist startups like myself. So what I have decided to do, and what I'm currently working on, is collaborating with these organizations to say, why can't we replicate the same model in the Northwest, all right? I am from the Northwest, so surely there must be a whole lot more of me's who want to get into tech, who want to get into business. So that is how I'm giving back to my community, and in a sense that I want to say, okay, cool, let's partner and create an enabling environment for young women specifically, who want to create their own businesses, specifically focusing in the technology space. So that's how I'm sort of giving back to my community right now.
And the last question there.
Thank you, MC. Out of curiosity, my question is focused more on your business, Speaker Tumi. Speaker Tumi. In short, just want to know, does your business have limits in terms of services offered, and on which basis, like, do you set your
Pricing.
your prices? Okay. Your pets, with regards to your pets, what is it? Pets?
Minderz.
Your pets, yes. Your pets
Yes?
business, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Are you also looking at, okay, please answer the first question. I'll
Cool.
come back.
So, right, every business kind of starts small, right? So right now, what we are focusing on, like now, 12 months, we are focusing on, so the pets that we are catering for would be dogs, cats, and small mammals, okay? So those are the pets that we are focusing on. In terms of services, we do house sitting, all right? We do pet sitting, we do pet boarding, dog walking, and drop-in visits. So house sitting, essentially somebody just coming into your house and taking care of your house because you're not there, all right? Pet sitting is essentially house sitting and there's a pet there. So they take care of the house and the pet. Pet boarding is when you actually, it's like a hotel for a pet. So essentially the pet goes to somebody else's house to go they take care of it there, not in your house as a customer, all right? Drop-in visits, the person comes in once or twice a day as per your request to come and check in on your house and your pet, all right? Dog walking, they walk the dog around for 30 minutes or 45 minutes. So those are the services that we provide right now. But yes, in about 12 months, we will be extending into another vertical. Because I'll be very honest, the initial business wasn't actually around pets, was to actually take care of real human babies. But the regulations around child care in South Africa are quite sticky. So as a business person, I had to look at what business can I get into right now, all right, that would not be too financially, straining for me to maintain, all right? And it won't take me too long to start off, essentially, all right? So that was that. So I then decided to get into the pet business build the brand and then extend services into other industries. Because there's a lot of industries that one can go into with this kind of business model. Yeah.
And
Sorry.
on which basis do you set your
Pricing.
prices?
Sorry. So with pet sitters, all right, there's a lot of people who do pet sitting, dog walking on an individual basis, right? So I cannot set a standard pricing. So what we do is we do a dynamic pricing model, almost like Uber, where the people actually set their own rates. Okay, so they set their own rates based on their experience, based on sometimes their availability, okay, and based on essentially our screening process. That's how they set their rating. But we don't have a particular sort of standard rating. But also, we use the current market rates in South Africa sort of as a benchmark to say, as a sitter with Minderz, these are the parameters that you can set your rates for, okay?
Thanks, guys. I want to take a moment to thank the panel and thank you for joining us today. Thank you for coming through and giving your time and enlightening us.